What's up, everybody? Welcome to part 9 and as well as the first part of sculpting the Giga. I'm going to go ahead and just start with the basic sculpting and walk you through it. So what I'm about to do here in a second is I'm just checking the face orientation of the Giga. I actually kind of skipped out on the spikes. The faces are, or the objects are red, which tells me that the normals are incorrect. So I need to flip those. But what I'm doing right now is I'm just selecting the teeth based on, whether they're small, medium, or large. And I'm just joining them together. And because I previously unwrapped one of the teeth, they should all be sharing the same UV space. So the UV space will technically, they'll all be overlapping, if that makes sense. So when I paint one, they will all look the same. And I did that on purpose so that way I wouldn't have like 70 teeth on the UV, I guess, layout, or when I go to texture, I won't have like 70 teeth everywhere. So by sharing the UV space, it just makes things cleaner and kind of tidies things up. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to apply the mirror modifier. And what I'll do is I will go through and make sure there are no overlapping edges and that everything is nice and clean. After applying that mirror modifier, I am just noticing that the little nubs or spikes are kind of off-centered. So I just kind of move them over on the x-axis ever so slightly until I feel like they look decent. So I'm going through and just essentially doing the same thing that I did with the teeth. And I'm just going to group them by their size, whether it be small, medium, or large. And I will just join them together. I had already unwrapped one, so I know they all share the same UV space, so I know I don't have to worry about that when I join them together. Now, the thing that I failed to mention is that you cannot, when you have them all joined, you cannot UV unwrap again because that will actually separate them from sharing that UV space. So it's kind of a live and learn type of thing. I've done that plenty of times. So you just Control Z if you do that by accident, but it's better to catch sooner than later, that's for sure. And I'm basically just unwrapping all of the smaller objects because I just find it easier to texture paint in the end, and it just keeps things moving. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just my workflow. You can wait until you texture paint. There's no real right or wrong for that. Now what I'm doing is I'm just trying to find a reference image that kind of eases me into the sculpting. I just want to look at very basic shapes, just the muscles, how I want to focus on that. And I'm just turning on my screencast keys as per usual because I always forget. But I like to use the draw brush, just the very basic draw brush, and I changed my matte cap just because I find this one easier to work with. And yeah, I'm just looking at the reference, kind of mapping out the muscles, and then I will continue building the shapes. So I'm actually going to end up time-lapsing a lot of my sculpting videos for this. I think it's more of like an artistic process than I know when I was actually working on this, I wasn't even talking to not to myself, but through my mic. And you just build the very basic shapes, not using much detail. I think I'm on a multi-res of like 3 right now, so it's not very subdivided. And just using that draw brush, and just filling in the bones, the muscle, and then as I feel like I need to add more detail, I'll go ahead and subdivide. So I actually swapped over to the crease brush because I typically use that to add in the, I guess, I don't know how else to explain it, but the creases where things bend and the skin would kind of collapse on itself. So that's all I'm doing with that. And I kept it very simple. The crease brush is generally, I think I use it more when I start adding in much more detail. But for now, it just adds in just that little bit of detail to kind of help me map out where things are going and how the skin's kind of pulling and playing on each other. I'm really referencing the skeletal reference image a lot to kind of help me figure out where the muscles might have gone and the bones. And then you see I swap over to this one because I liked the indentation of the tail. You'll see it doesn't really work with this right now with what the resolution that I'm working with. So I eventually add that in later. If you read that little text box that I put in the video, the multi-resolution was actually bugging out on me for whatever reason. I know this happened to me before. So I had to start from scratch and actually several times. So I had to, oh, you see it happen just there. So I had to figure that out where I believe I ended up removing the multi-resolution and then just having to reapply it. It was a huge pain in the butt, and that was the problem. So if that happens to you, it's the multi-resolution. So I'm basically just redoing everything that was lost in the previous sculpt. So I'm just going to go ahead and play some music. And if you have any questions or feedback for me, let me know and I'd be more than happy to get to it. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.